Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carole and I'm a life coach from carolecares.com who helps all teens and young adults work through their mental health challenges. Thanks for being here right now. I really care what you're working through. If you are thinking of self-harming, please hit the help button right now. Have you ever felt like fear is running your life? And that it's holding you back from being the person that you were meant to be? In this video, I want to talk about where your fears come from and how they are holding you back. So let's begin. Let's talk about fear. Well, fear is a normal emotion that everyone is familiar with. I mean, it's completely normal for us to have some level of fear and stress in our life. It can actually help to protect us. Like, think about when you were a kid. You developed this healthy sense of fear for things like lightning or bees or barking dogs. So the reactions that we had were actually everyday fears, and they actually helped us to keep us safe. But somehow growing up, this healthy fear turned into a very intense emotion in our body for a lot of us. So what happened that it was so intense that it actually took over us, and now it affects everything that we feel, everything that we say or think or do? Unfortunately, fear has become a way of life for many of us, and it can hold us back from so many things like trying new things or meeting new people. We almost become paralyzed and are literally scared to do anything. So where do these intense fears come from? Well, you weren't born into this world scared. So that means your fears come from your childhood experiences, from your family, your parents, your relatives, maybe teachers, and even society. You probably learned at a very young age to fear taking risks in life when you were told that it was too dangerous, or something bad might happen, or you might fail, or you might get hurt. Essentially, you were taught to be afraid to live. And it sounds crazy. It really does, but it's true. I mean, think about it. What messages were you told growing up? Oh no, you can't do that. Or that's a crazy idea. You can't climb that ladder, it's too high. Or you can't ride that bike, it's too big for you. Oh, don't try that. Don't do that. It will never work. And the list can go on and on. So essentially, you learned at a very young age not to trust yourself and not to trust others, because you were taught to have doubts about what you can actually do. And for some reason, this developed into an almost state of paranoia, where now you're afraid to try or do anything new or different. And it can be really paralyzing, especially when you think that only bad things will happen. So if you took a look at your fears right now, can you see how they're holding you back? Let's take a look at how your fear may be showing up in your life. Are you afraid to try because you think that you might fail? If you think this is you, your fear probably shows up in school for tests and assignments, or maybe for trying out on different teams or clubs, or auditioning for performances. It will definitely show up in your relationships, in dating, for example, or even in your self-worth. You probably will fear trying anything new because you fear change. Unfortunately, fear of failure causes a lot of our depression and anxiety in our bodies. Are you afraid of peer pressure and fitting in? Of being judged, accepted, or liked by others? This was definitely my fear all my life. I think my biggest fear was being judged by others. I just wanted people to like me. If you think this is you, maybe you felt pressured to experiment with sex and drugs because you're scared of being rejected and left out. Do you have a phobia? Or maybe you have more than one. And is your phobia so bad that it actually paralyzes you? Maybe you fear crowds and you prefer to stay home. Do you have a lot of fear getting on a plane or a boat? Do you fear the dark for some reason? That's a real common one. Maybe you fear animals like dogs or smells or sights. And I don't even want to mention anything in this category because I don't want to trigger you. But there's one thing, and I want to tell you, it is these are real fears. They're real. It's not something that you can just get over. And I know a lot of people are telling you to do it. Maybe you have flashback fears from your childhood, which only makes everything in your present day worse. I'm claustrophobic. I'm also a germaphobe, and I hate people touching my face or holding me down in any way. So if you were to quickly grab my arm, I would freeze, and I know why. Obviously, these fears come from my childhood, from sexual abuse. So my fears are real. Do you suffer from anxiety or panic attacks or even paranoia? If you do, you probably tend to avoid certain situations or people. Some of you also may experience like physical symptoms like headaches or stomach pains or nausea or rapid breathing. And it may be hard for you to relax in a lot of situations. You may become very paranoid and not trust anyone. I've always hated talking in front of a group of people. If I'm with one or two people, there's no problem. But as soon as you put me in front of 4 or more, I just clam up and I won't talk. And I become petrified to even open up my mouth. And I always thought that when I tried talking, it was really hard to interject. And I just felt that people never really heard me or never really cared what I said. But that's a lot easier now that I've worked through a lot of my challenges. Do you ever get angry easily to cover up your fear? You may even rage, and that's a way to cover up your fear. It's very common to get angry or violent when you're scared or very stressed. So I want you to think of a parent when their child runs across the road without looking. And what does the parent do? All of a sudden, out of fear, screams at the top of their lungs. And then they yell at the kid and get angry and rage. And it's because the parent has this fear in them. So that's what humans do when they get really scared. They can get really angry. And maybe some of you can relate to this. Maybe it will help you see how your anger is showing up in your life. Maybe you can see your anger in a different light. Maybe you are carrying around a lot of fear in you. Do you suffer from depression? Depression can easily set in when there's fear in your body because you see yourself in this hopeless situation and you can see no way out. Now, I'm wondering if you were able to identify with any of these. I know I could with a lot of them. I had tons of fear in me for years and I wasn't even aware of it. I didn't know I had fear. And if I did, I didn't know how to do anything about it. I became aware of it only when I started to see my trauma coach. And she had to tell me that I had so much fear in my system. Was my fear ever holding me back from living in so many ways? I didn't know I was petrified and I just learned to cover it up. And my overeating was a huge way that helped me to try to shove down all my fears. When I got scared, I just ate. And I want to help you see how your fear is affecting your body. And maybe some of you are well aware of how your fears are holding you back from being or doing what you want to do. But I know what that feels like. I can't even begin to tell you how difficult it was to do these YouTube videos. The fear in me was incredible, but here I am. So, as I said with my overeating, you can try to numb out your fears or make adjustments to avoid them. But in order to lessen your fear in your life, you can sometimes try to control other people and try to control your surroundings, and you can't. Some of you may try to live a very risk-free life so that your fear doesn't come forward, but you can try to keep safe at all times, and you can try to not rock the boat, but your fear is still there. Are you like me who tries to numb your fears by numbing out with substances or addictions like drugs or alcohol and gaming, personal devices, sex, and even an eating disorder? And the list goes on. And I'll be putting out a video at a later date on addiction, and that'll really be able to help you out. I know my drug of choice was always food, especially anything sweet. I had an eating disorder, but I will talk about that in another video. So some of you may try to face your fears. I don't know why, but for some reason there's this belief that if you are scared of something, you have to face your fears. So some of you might watch really scary movies to overcome your fears or try extreme sports, but what you are really doing is bringing your fear back to the surface again, and it really just makes it worse. There's another way to face your fears, and I'm going to talk about that in my next video. But in this video, I want you to become aware of how your fears are holding you back from really being the person you really are. When you are full of fear, you spend your entire life trying to avoid your fears any way you can. And that's not living. When you do everything possible to try to avoid or numb your fears, you are only creating more stress in your body, which is not only extremely unhealthy for you, but it also prevents you from being you and living the life that you're meant to live. You're not meant to live a life in fear. And that's how I lived my life for many years. And it's a horrible way to live. And I'm sure you know that. I don't even have to tell you that. So I want to show you that there is a way out. There's a way to overcome your fears, your anxieties, your phobias. And I know a lot of you have given up. You've accepted that this is the way that life's supposed to be and that there's no hope. And I'm here to tell you that it's just not true. If I could scream that right now, I would. Living in fear is not a way to live. And I can help you set yourself free from all those fears that you have. In my next video on fear, I'm going to show you step by step how to release this fear from your system once and for all, so that you can start living the life that you were meant to live. I mean, I did it. I know you can do it. I can't tell you how good it feels to sit here in my own skin without this horrible fear in me. And when it does come up, I know exactly what to do with it and how to get rid of it, because I no longer want this fear in my body. It feels horrible. So I know I can do this for you. Together we can do this. I want to do this for you. You are not meant to live a life full of fear, and you don't have to continue to live this way. If you have any further questions about fear or any challenges that you may be experiencing right now, please go to my website, carolecares.com. And under the section Ask Carole, you can fill out a form and send me a question. There are links to my YouTube channel and Instagram below. So until next time, please have compassion for what you are working through and stay safe. Bye for now.